You got nothing on, babe. You're Salome dancing into Herod's view. You got nothing on, babe. Salome dancing into King Herod's view. When you got nothing on, Salome's got nothing on you. You got nothing on, babe. You're Godiva trotting down 5th Avenue. Got nothing on, babe. Godiva charging down 5th Avenue. When you got nothing on, Godiva's got nothing on you. Why is it when I ask you out to play, you become slightly withdrawn? Why is it you always seem to say you got something on? You got nothing on, babe. You're Gypsy blooming at the review. Got nothing on, babe. Gypsy Rose at Bill Minsky's review. When you got nothing on, Gypsy Rose has got nothing on you.
Hello and welcome to Picnic Picks, digital highlights of recent episodes of Muldoon's Picnic. I'm with you today from snowy New York State. That was myself and Rogue Oliphant with Nothing on You from the October 2019 show, and that particular lineup of Rogue Oliphant featured Chris Harford, Sim Kane, David Mansfield, Carch O'Riordan and Warren Zanes. As you may recall, the original Muldoon's Picnic was a variety show that was a feature of New York life in the late 19th century. According to one contemporary newspaper report, to visit New York and miss Muldoon's Picnic was the equivalent of visiting New York and missing Central Park. Not so sure about that, but that's what they said. The picnic, in any case, grew out of an 1874 song called Muldoon the Solid Man, and the picnic was revived by me 140 years later in 2014 at the Irish Arts Centre. The key to the picnic's popularity is its being a mixum gatherum, a free-for-all, and this edition is no exception. We get the show on the road with a poem from Simon Armitage. Simon Armitage has had an extremely distinguished career as a poet. He's been Professor of Poetry at Oxford. He's the current Poet Laureate of the UK. And Simon Armitage was a guest at the picnic in April 2019, and his poem is entitled Thank You for Waiting.
Thank you for waiting. At this moment in time, we'd like to invite first-class passengers only to board the aircraft. Thank you for waiting. We now extend our invitation to exclusive, superior, privilege and Excelsior members, followed by triple, double and single platinum members, followed by gold and silver card members, followed by pearl and coral club members. Military personnel in uniform may also board at this time. Thank you for waiting. We now invite passengers in our Bronze Alliance members scheme and passengers enrolled in our Rare Earth Metals Points and Rewards scheme. Please come forward and thank you for waiting. Thank you for waiting. Accredited beautiful people may now board. Plus any gentleman carrying a copy of this month's Cigar Aficionado magazine, plus subscribers to our Red Diamond, Black Opal or Blue Garnet promotions. We also welcome Sapphire, Ruby and Emerald members at this time, followed by Amethyst, Onyx, Obsidian, Jet, Topaz and Quartz members. Priority lane customers, fast track customers, chosen elite customers, preferred access customers, and first among equals customers may now also board. On production of a valid receipt, travellers of elegance and style wearing designer and/or hand-tailored clothing to a minimum value of $10,000 may now board. Passengers in possession of items of jewellery, including wristwatches with a retail purchase price greater than the average annual salary of a mid-career high school teacher, are also welcome to board. Also welcome at this time are passengers talking loudly into cell phone headsets about recently completed share deals, property acquisitions and aggressive takeovers, plus hedge fund managers with proven track records in the undermining of small to medium-sized ambitions. Passengers in classes loam, chalk, marl and clay may also board. Thank you for waiting. Mediocre passengers are now invited to board, followed by passengers lacking business acumen or genuine leadership potential, followed by people of little or no consequence, followed by people operating at a net fiscal loss as people. Those holding tickets for zones rust, mulch, cardboard, puddle and sand might now want to begin gathering their tissues and crumbs prior to embarkation. Sweat, dust, shoddy, scurf, feces, chaff, remnant, ash, pus, sludge, clinker, splinter, and soot. All you people are now free to board.
Simon Armitage and his hilarious poem about boarding a plane. Do you remember those days? Remember when we had nothing much to worry about but a bumpy landing, maybe through low clouds, or maybe even naughty clouds. Naughty Clouds is the name of our next act. It's a band that features Alexis Moon and Ray Kubian. You'll know Ray Kubian as the main drummer of Rogue Oliphant, but we were delighted to welcome him in this power duo manifestation to the February 2019 edition of Muldoon's Picnic. This is Naughty Clouds with Strong Hearts. I is a word of the past.
That circle fire
Naughty clouds with strong hearts. I is a word of the past. In October 2017, we were thrilled to welcome Jin Lee to Muldoon's Picnic. Here's Jin Lee reading from her best-selling novel, Pachinko.
So most people don't know this, but my husband is, his last name is Duffy. And the reason why people don't know it right away is because he's half Japanese and he doesn't look like a traditional Duffy. So he looks Asian like I do. And of course, our son looks really Asian because he's 75% ethnically Asian. And of course, we go to Dublin to find our roots a few years ago. And we show up at this very lovely hotel. And my husband says, "I'm Chris Duffy." And the manager says, "Ah, the Duffys, they're here." And I mentioned this story because I thought that the way he changed his surprise was so gracious. And my book, Pachinko, is about the Koreans who end up in Japan and they have a very hard time of it. Whereas I have to say that in all of my reception in Ireland and also with my husband's family, the Duffys, they have been nothing but really lovely. So I'd like to dedicate this particular passage, which is about identity in Pachinko, to the Duffys. So now 37 years have passed, and we're no longer in Osaka, we're in Yokohama. It's 1976, and the little boy that Sanja was nursing at the market is now a man, and he's very well off, and he owns a pachinko parlor, which is a gambling hall, and he's very wealthy. He has a son, his name is Solomon, so we have Moses, Sanja's son, her second son. He's a grown man, he's prosperous, and he has a son named Solomon, and he has a girlfriend. And his girlfriend is Japanese, and her name is Etsuko. We are now at a ward office, a government office. It's 1976, Yokohama. The Yokohama ward office was a giant gray box with an obscure sign. The first clerk they saw was a tall man with a narrow face and a shock of black hair buzzed off at the sides. And he stared at Etsuko shamelessly, his eyes darting across her breasts, her hips, and her jeweled fingers. She was overdressed compared to Moses and Solomon, who wore white dress shirts, dark slacks, and black dress shoes. And they looked like the gentle Mormon missionaries who used to glide through her village on their bicycles when she was a girl. "Your name?" The clerk squinted at the form that Solomon was filling out. "Solomon. What kind of name is that?" "It's from the Bible. He was a king and the son of David, a man of great wisdom. My great uncle named me." And the boy smiled at the clerk as if he was sharing a secret. He was a polite boy, but because he had gone to school with Americans and other kinds of foreigners at his international schools, he sometimes said things that a Japanese person would never have said. "Solomon, king, great wisdom. Koreans don't have kings anymore." "What did you say?" Etsuko said. And quickly Moses pulled her back. And she glanced at Moses. His temper was far worse than hers. And once, when a restaurant guest had tried to make her sit with him, Moses, who happened to be there that night, walked over, picked him up bodily, and threw him outside the restaurant, breaking the man's ribs. And she was expecting no less of a reaction now. But Moses averted his eyes from the clerk and stared at Solomon's right hand. And Moses smiled. "Excuse me, sir. We're in a hurry to return home because it's the boy's birthday. Is there anything else we should do? Thank you very much for understanding." And confused, Solomon turned to Etzko and she flashed him a warning look. And the clerk pointed to the back of the room and told Moses and Etzko to sit down. And Solomon remained standing opposite the clerk. And in the long rectangular room, shaped like a train car, with bank teller windows running parallel along opposite walls, half a dozen people sat on benches, reading their newspapers or manga, and Etzko wondered if they were all Korean. And Moses sat down, and then he got up again, and he asked if she wanted a can of tea from the vending machine, and she nodded yes. She felt like slapping the clerk's face. In middle school, she had once slapped a gossipy girl, and it had been very satisfying. When Moses returned with their tea, she thanked him. "You must have known. You must have warned him. I mean, you told him that today would not be so easy, ne?" And after the words came out of her mouth, they sounded harsh, and she felt sorry. No, I didn't say anything to him. And he opened and he closed his fists rhythmically. "I came here with my mother and my brother Noah for my first registration papers. The clerk was normal, nice even, so I asked you to come. I thought maybe having a woman, a Japanese woman, by his side might help. It was stupid to wish for kindness." No, you couldn't have warned him. I shouldn't have said it like that. It is hopeless. I cannot change his fate. He is Korean. He has to get those papers, and he has to follow all the steps of the law perfectly. Once, at a ward's office, a clerk told me that I was a guest in his country. "You and Solomon were born here." "Yes. My brother Noah was born here too." And Moses covered his face with his hands. Anyway, the clerk wasn't wrong. And this is something Solomon must understand. We can be deported. We have no motherland. Life is full of things he cannot control, so he must adapt. My boy has to survive. And Solomon returned to them. Next, he had his photograph taken, and afterward, he had to go to another room to get fingerprinted, and then they could go home. The last clerk was a pretty woman with a long ponytail, and she took Solomon's left index finger and gently dipped it into the pot filled with thick black ink. And Solomon depressed his finger onto a white card as if he was a child painting. And Moses looked away, and he sighed audibly. And the clerk told him to pick up the registration card in the next room. "Let's go get your dog tags," Moses said. Solomon faced his father. "It's what we dogs must have." And the clerk looked furious suddenly. "The fingerprints and the registration cards are vitally important for government records. There's no need to feel insulted by this. It is an immigration regulation required for foreign..." And Etzko stepped forward. "But you don't make your children get fingerprinted on their birthday, do you?" And the clerk's neck turned red. My son is dead. And Etsuko bit her lip. She didn't want to feel anything for this woman, but she knew what it was like to lose your children. It was like you were cursed, and nothing would ever restore the desolation of your life. Koreans do a lot of good for this country, Etsuko said. They do the difficult jobs Japanese don't want to do. They pay taxes, they obey laws, they raise children and create jobs. You Koreans always tell me this. And Solomon blurted out, she's not Korean. And Etsuko touched his arm. And the three of them walked out of the building. She wanted to crawl out of the gray box and see the light of outdoors again. She longed for the white mountains of Hokkaido. And though she had never done so in her childhood, she wanted to walk in the cold, snowy forests beneath the flanks of dark, leafless trees. And in life, there was so much insult and injury, and she had no choice but to collect what was hers. But now she wished to take Solomon's shame and add it to her pile, though she was already so overwhelmed. Thank you.
Jin Lee there reading from Pachinko, and that's almost it for this edition of Picnic Picks. I want to say a particular word of thanks to Tom Rowley, the videographer and editor, to Andy Fitzpatrick and John Murray, who have been helping with audio mixing, to Ciara O'Shea and Kestrel Wolgamuth from Irish Art Centre, and to Christopher Gorzelnik for his work on lighting and, of course, generally brightening our lives. We'll close with a piece taken from the Muldoon's Picnic of September 2017. Our special musical guest on that occasion was Damsel. Damsel is a neo-folk duo made up of Monica Mugan and Beth Mayers, and they specialise in catchy tunes and even catchier lyrics. Until we meet for more Picnic Picks, I hope you'll be okay.
Everyone's ready, steady, countdown. 3, 2, 1, let go. Words hovering, float skybound. Winds arise, wishing wave like sudden. Sky rapid changing, blue hair and winging goodbye. I'll be okay. Don't you worry about me. Every day, don't you worry about me. Oh, don't you worry about me. I'll be okay. Don't you worry.